Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see, we've got a bunch of MIDI controllers here. We're going to be looking at this one in particular today. This is the Launch Control XL Mark III from Novation. I've really been enjoying a lot of the Novation stuff, especially with Bitwig. The integration of late has been pretty excellent. This one we're going to take a look at now, the sort of native integration, and then just some ideas of what you can do with this as well. But yeah, obviously I've got the Launchpad Mini and the Launch Key Mark IV. This is the 37 full-size key version. I actually have the smaller one as well, although the mini keys I'm not so fond of, so I've switched it up for the bigger one. Novation were kind enough to send one to me along with the Launch Control XL. So let's just take a look at this, how this functions inside of Bitwig. Just cover everything that I have currently here connected. I've got the Bitwig Connect running. I've got the Mark IV there. My Arturia is in the rack on the left-hand side here. You can see all the controllers that I have connected currently. Now, just a quick note here as well. You'll see I have the LC-XL3 connected here. This is the ports that are required for the stock integration. But you'll see that I actually have the additional MIDI in and out ports mapped to generic Flexi controller scripts as well from DrivenByMoss. I'll show you how those work. You can actually get two scripts running on this at the same time when they do have multiple ports. So you can do the same probably with the Launchpad here. However, the Launchpad doesn't really offer you anything worthwhile in its native script. You really kind of want to be using DrivenByMoss, which is what I have here, which gives you sequences and all sorts of other things. Well, just to dive into this one first, it's a pretty solid design. You've also got MIDI in, out, and through on the back, which is really nice. All this can actually be used as an out too. So it's pretty cool for driving hardware setups. You can connect quite a bit via the MIDI there as well. Obviously now I'm just connected via USB-C currently. Now, one cool little addition with the Connect, when it arrives in the box, you've got a bunch of these little stickers, which are kind of handy because you can label your controllers with this kind of slightly unobtrusive little sticker. There's a blue one on my Arturia. You'll see I've got the red one assigned to the launch control. Just it's easy to kind of make that visual connection when you are in this window. So you can see now exactly the red bounding box there is the channels that are currently being displayed here. So in the default mode, we're going to take a look at that first. You can switch your modes here, and you've got these two modes, the door control and the door mixer mode. It kind of locks in place there. You push mode and you can select any one of these, which will give you access to essentially 16 channels full of CC values that you have here. These are all custom modes that you can assign, and then obviously you can assign these buttons to things as well. But in this mode button, we can choose the DAW control or the DAW mixer control. Let's start off with the mixer first. It's pretty self-explanatory, this. You'll see, obviously, this is going to coincide with our faders here, and obviously this will be applicable to any one of these channels that they coincide with. You can select channels with the left and right here, one by one, or shift left by banks. Here we go, banks of 8 essentially. You'll move all of the faders. Let's take a look down the bottom. Obviously these will solo, single solos. Shift solo will give you multiple solos at the same time. And yeah, they lock on single like that. So they will essentially override each other, unless you use the shift to do two, and then you can solo anyone to get them off. If you click that again, it's going to give you the arm controls, and now you can actually arm channels. And again, the same story, you can arm them one at a time. If you want to arm multiple channels at the same time, just hold down shift, and you can arm multiple ones like that. Now we can move down one to the bottom. This is the selector. This is pretty much the same as what the same functionality that you have here with this track selection up top here, except this one you can jump fairly quickly to anyone you want down at the bottom here in this mode. If you hit this again, and now you are on mute mode, so we can mute any of these channels. And notice the mutes are all functioning at the same time. You don't have to use any shift functionality with those at all. Right, so that's pretty much it. You've also got send. You can see you've got some send controls over here. We could send to this control room that I have set up in here. Sends 1 and 2 are basically controlled. I only actually have one send available to these channels right now, but you can see there you've actually got like a readout. What's nice with any of these as well is if you hold down the shift, you can actually check what the functionality is. And you'll actually see my channel names are showing up there. So drums, dirt loop 1, so on and so on, shaker. You can actually get a visual feedback from that. It's quite a clear little screen actually. And holding down shift functionality, you can dial in the knobs because they're not touch sensitive, but it will tell you where they are and what they are. Same goes for the faders. I can see dirt loops. You can get my channel names in there and various different status updates from that before actually changing any of that. So that's essentially your basics for the mixer. Let's take a look at the DAW control mode. So hit mode, go up to DAW control, and mode again will get you back into that. So now you've pretty much got the same functionality with the faders. The faders are kind of always controlling volume in most cases. Same goes for this. The controls down at the bottom are still going to do solo and arm and select. Same functionality there. This first row is kind of a utility row, and it's very much the same controls that you have on the Launch Key Mark IV. They are DAW controls here, so I don't use all of these too much because I'm using Connect for that. So if we get out of the mixer view here, for example, I'm typically using the scroll on this and the zoom on this one. It's just far more fluid to use. You do have uses for these as well. Like you've got a scroll here. It's just not as premium as the Connect, but it will get you around your project just fine. This is zoom in and out. What I quite like is this one, which gives you horizontal zoom as well, which is kind of handy. Then you've also, again, you can hold down shift, which will tell you what these are: loop start and loop duration. These are kind of nice to have as well. You can kind of set the loop point there, and you can actually change the loop duration with that. And I think the last one, yeah, is loop on and off, so you can disable that. Again, this is one that I would normally do there with the Connect instead. Lastly, you got marker select. I currently don't have any markers in here, but if we were to go and let's actually just pin the cue marker to the top here, we can actually scroll around with this as well. And let's just add a marker there, and add one there, for example. Add another one there. Now you can actually use this little yellow control here to kind of get around these pretty easily, and it'll just jump from one to one. Last one, tempo select. You can change the tempo up and down. Right, so the top banks here are actually assigned to quick controls in Bitwig. Let's try and find something that has, well, come down here, for example. If you click on this, you'll see immediately you're getting everything lighting up. The colors actually do coincide with the quick controls as well, whatever is in here. So you can see gain. We can adjust the gain here now. We can adjust gain there. We can flick between different groups, so we can change the banks essentially up and down. Now I've got frequencies, and we can get to the Q values, and that's all of them. There's 3 banks that we've got there, 3 pages essentially. You can have more pages and just scroll through those as you need. Pretty self-explanatory that, and obviously that updates dynamically. If we just change tracks, you'll see that's another EQ there, for example. Let's take a look at what happens with this one. If we were to click on that, you see we've got our controls here for this. Only 1 page in this case. I'm going to let you set the frequencies for that, and various other different controls. Low boost, these. Oh, there we go. So those actually don't have any lights showing up there because they are currently set to 0, but you'll see you get some visual feedback as you dial that up. The values get brighter and brighter. Right, and obviously the last thing I just want to show you, got some basic transport controls as well. Yeah, obviously record and start. With Bitwig, if you don't know this, you can assign certain controllers domain over certain parts of Bitwigs. If you're working in the clip launcher, I typically have this one, the record transport, set to record clips. This one is set to record on the arrange page, and you can do the same for, that's a Flexi controller, the Keylab, this is the Launchpad Mini, and the Bitwig Connect. Of course it's going to be the last one I select, there we go. So we can give this preference to the arranger or the clip launcher as well. There you go. Now we can also just test out this, move the markers around. Now that's one little issue here with this one, is the playheads don't update in real time when this is active. You don't have that issue on the Connect though, that'll override anything, so you can be playing and move wherever you want. Obviously it's all in sync, but it does let you do it in real time. Cool. So let's just take a look at mapping for this. Now, if you're going to use this for a live set in Bitwig, you can map this to pretty much anything really, really easily. It's easy in Bitwig. You just come and select the mapping control here, and we can just go and choose. Let's first get into a one of the custom modes. We'll just pick a random one here, like 5, for example, and we could just highlight something here and just do that. And now it's mapped, and you've got controls over here. You can set up some parameters for that. Just realize that these are not permanent mappings. It's not like every time that you have sculpt in a Bitwig project, it's not going to be mapped to this control. Mappings in this way are project specific, so you'd have a live set template that you can map to the stuff that's always going to be in that template, and that'll always be mapped. But if you want something that is going to only affect certain things every time you load them up, you're going to have to use something like generic Flexi to have that kind of control. Right, so let's take a look at a different way that we can use this, and I'll show you. I've just started kind of slowly mapping things, but there's one thing holding me up here, and it's one thing that I dislike about this at the moment. However, I have spoken to the guys in Novation. I'm pretty sure it's something that is going to be fixed in a firmware update pretty soon. They are aware of the fact that it is quite a requested feature, this. So let's just take a look here quickly. I'm going to add a new track here. And I'm going to just take a look at some of the custom modes that I've started programming here. They're not finished and they're not perfect, but I will get there down the line. Let's just come over to this one first. So this one is my EQ mode, and this is now running the generic Flexi by DrivenByMoss. No longer sending to the default Novation script at all. So what I've got here is using generic Flexi. I've got EQ Plus being controlled. I can actually have all 8 of the EQ nodes in EQ Plus assigned here. Furthermore, these control up and down selection of the filters. So even without anything on this channel here, I can just click a button and that will give me my low cut, and I can steepen the filter, go right up to high passes and so forth, come back down again, select the low cut. Let's use the frequency here. I can select the frequency. I can now change the band gain as well. Let's maybe add in a bell here instead. So we'll just add in some gain, bring up the frequency here. And there you go. And I've also got the Q values assigned for that as well. So pretty simple to get your EQs up and running. Now, there is a bit of this pickup that you have to do. You can have them set to instant, but that causes problems down the line as well. So I've got them in pickup mode currently. Now, if these were running in relative mode, which is what I'm really missing from this, they do not have a relative setting in the Novation software. Which means, despite the fact that they are endless rotaries, these are always outputting a value of 0 to 127. So you've kind of got to do this thing where you kind of chase them up and down, and then they kind of, it's a bit janky. And it also prevents you from doing certain things like the next mode that I'm going to take a look at, whereby you can actually use these controls to scroll through lists of plugins and so forth. You can't do that right now because of the way that these are working. They're only just sending this finite, or 0 to 127, that's it. You need to be able to send incremental values from 64 and down and 64 and up, exactly. So yeah, that's something we have to wait for, hopefully in an update pretty soon before that will work properly. But I will show you what I started doing with that one. I'm going to change this up a little bit, but if you go over to mode now and come over to this one, this is my browser settings here. I've just reorganized a bunch of my plugins. So these ones on the top, I'm actually going to change up to have them color-coded to specific categories of plugins. Right now, they are doing functions like changing the window modes. You can set these to whatever you want. I'm actually not using a whole bunch of the knobs here, but I would like to assign some of these to scroll certain menus and tags. Right now I'm using these at the bottom for that, but let's bring up our dock again at the bottom. This will open up the browser, for example, and you can then right now scroll with the buttons, but once again, I want to be able to do this with a incremental knob over here that will let me scroll through the list pretty quickly. And then obviously these as well will change your selection categories on the left pane there, so you can choose different categories and then choose creators, file kinds, and so forth. But I also want to be able to do that again with a knob instead, which would be just way more efficient. This one will give you your categories here. So this I'm actually going to override as well. I think it would make sense to have these all color coded. So you'd have orange for dynamics, red for distortion plugins, yellow for filters and EQs, green I have for other stuff, and then you can have other shortcuts leading to smart collections of various different samples and things like that. Something like that might be more effective doing that on something like a launchpad where you've got more buttons, I guess. I haven't really explored that yet, but I may look into fiddling with that a little bit further as well. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do in that regard. Like I've also got here that you can insert before, and we can also sorry, I'm using my mouse to do that, and I should actually be using that. That's to cancel. We can also set before, which can be a MIDI effect plugin here. We'll choose like key filter, for example. We'll just load that in. Let's go after again, and then we can then maybe choose an instrument. There you go. Cool. So some nice little functionality that you can get away with there. You're gonna have to kind of dive into DrivenByMoss to explore some of that, but there's a lot that you can do there. And the visual feedback on these are really nice. The color and everything is pretty great. You can program all of that inside of the Novation components software. It will be exclusive to Bitwig, so it's gonna show no products connected because they're all currently being used by Bitwig. But if we just click on show products, and this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool that you can actually show everything. And if you come back here again. There's the launch pad. Say show all. Even if you don't own any of these and you want to just have a go at looking what you could maybe do with them, you can actually go and download components or just run it from the website even. It's actually a web application, this. And it's very easy to use, but it's quite nice because you can actually come in here and take a look at, let's say, Launch Control XL3, which is here. And we could just take a look at custom modes for it, just just to kind of play around with ideas, just to show you how this all works. And this is how I've been programming these. The default CC values for the most part have been fine if I'm mapping them to the DrivenByMoss scripts. They're very, very easy to work with in here. I mean, you can change multiple ones here. Let's say all of these we want to change to a different channel. This will affect everything now. We can also say let's go change these colors, all of them. You have the ons to be a different color if you want. It's quite fluid. It's one of the nicest bits of mapping software I've ever come across. Obviously, a bunch of stuff that you can do here. You can use NRPNs here as well, control changes. Buttons have a bunch of things that you can do as well. NRPNs. This keystroke is really, really handy as well. So you can actually program keystrokes. I've done that with this as well for things like, even for controlling OBS or whatever, you can program a couple of keystrokes into this if you don't have a Stream Deck, and it'll work just fine. Even if you're not linking it with MIDI or anything, it functions just like a keyboard. Obviously note values you can put in there as well. Your controllers, change all of that stuff up. Now what I'm talking about here is, if we look at something like the Arturia MIDI control center, when you're mapping one of these controls, for example, you'll see at the bottom here we've got MIDI channel, MIDI mode, and this is what we're missing currently on this one. So we've got a global mode here, we've got absolute, relative main, and relative alt 1 and 2. These relative modes are really what you need for this, if you want to be using this effectively with some of the DrivenByMoss scripts. But for now, obviously, you have to hold off on that. Aside from Bitwig, I've had pretty good success using this in something like Tractor. I've been playing around with the mapping effects to this in Tractor as well. Obviously it will work in any DAW, Ableton stock. All the Novation stuff obviously works really well with Ableton too, but nice to see controllers supporting Bitwig out the gate, and pretty decent integration. I mean, this works really, really well. My favorite out of the bunch so far is still the Mark IV launch key. The step sequence on that one really makes the whole difference for me. It's just super fluid to use that. But I'm really happy having the extra faders with this one as well. And it's a nice feeling unit. And for live, you know, for the studio it's great, but for live this is really a killer little product. It's lightweight, it's rock solid. You know, faders feel pretty good, nice and smooth. The buttons are pretty good as well. Yeah, definitely pretty cool little controller this. Hopefully they sort out that firmware soon. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little overview of the Launch Control XL Mark III. If you guys want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. You can also go check out the Patreon page. Otherwise, I will catch you guys soon. Until then, take care. Cheers.